All right, now we're ready to get into our actual lesson. So we see our first example telling us it is 2 o'clock. Next, it is just past 2 o'clock. Then, it is almost 3 o'clock. Then, it is 3 o'clock. Where is the hour hand at each time? So, we're looking at our hour hand and thinking about what we just saw on our previous video about how it moves so slowly past the number it was on initially to get to the next number as the hour goes on. So we're going to take a look at what that looks like as the time continues. So our directions for try it say, draw the hour hand to show the time. So on this clock, we're going to show just past 2 o'clock, and we're actually only drawing the hour hand this time. So as we know, the hour hand is the short one, like we see up here. That's our hour hand. We're only drawing that one right now. So to show just past 2 o'clock, we're going to draw our arrow just past the 2. It's actually going to look like this. So take a minute to draw your arrow to show just past 2 o'clock, looking like that. As always, if you need to pause the video to do your work, please do so, and then you'll be ready to move on to the next problem. For our next one, we're going to show almost 3 o'clock. If it's almost 3 o'clock, that means we just finished the 2 o'clock hour, and it makes me think almost 3 o'clock means the hour hand would be almost at 3. Almost 3 o'clock. Almost at 3. So sure enough, we see that the hour hand should be almost at the 3. Go ahead and draw that on your paper. Almost 3 o'clock is when the hour hand is almost at the 3. We're still in the 2 o'clock hour, but we're getting really close to 3 o'clock. For our next one, they want us to show 3 o'clock. Well, thinking back to last lesson, we know how to show something o'clock pretty well now. So we're going to show 3 o'clock by putting the hour hand where? Think about it for a second. Where will the hour hand go to show 3 o'clock? It's going to go right on the 3, as you're probably thinking. So your clock should look like that. The hour hand, the shorthand, is pointing exactly to the 3 to show a time of 3 o'clock. Now again, if we had our minute hand, that would be pointing to the 12, but we're just focusing on our hour hand right now. Okay. Turn to the back side of this page. Let's look at our next example. It says it is 2 o'clock. Next, it is just past 2 o'clock. So we want to focus on our keywords here, just past. Then it is almost 3 o'clock, almost 3 o'clock. Then it is 3 o'clock. Where is the hour hand at each time? So we're going to take each one of these parts of our problem and go through it with a clock. Let's read it again. It is 2 o'clock. This clock here shows us that it's 2 o'clock. Again, we're just looking at the hour hand. Next, it is just past 2 o'clock. So a few minutes have passed. It's just past 2 o'clock. Then it is almost 3 o'clock. Getting close to 3 o'clock. Then it is 3 o'clock. Where is the hour hand at each time? Okay, so we're looking at our clocks here. The hour hand shows the time. So it says just past o'clock. Well, I see if I follow with my finger, the hour hand is not perfectly on the 2, it's a little bit below it. So that tells us just past 2 o'clock. Go ahead and put a 2 on that line to show just past 2 o'clock. Again, we see that the hour hand is not perfectly on the 2, it's a little bit past it. So just past 2 o'clock. We wouldn't say just past 3 o'clock because the hour hand has not gotten to the 3 yet, and it's not past it, it's before it at this point. Looking at our next one, this one says almost o'clock. Let's take a look. Here's our hour hand. If we follow it across, we see that it's almost on the 3. So that makes it almost 3 o'clock. It wouldn't be almost 2 o'clock because almost means it's just about there. It's not just about at the 2, it's just about at the 3. So let's write almost 3 o'clock. You want to put a 3 on this line, please. Okay. For this one, o'clock. Okay, we see that the hour hand is perfectly pointing to the 3. When it's perfectly on a number, that tells us that it's 3 o'clock. Let's put a 3 on our line to show 3 o'clock, which is what we're looking at on this clock. All right, let's make some connections here. How is your way like model it? How is it different? So looking back at model it on the previous page, here's model it. We're seeing how we looked at where the hour hand was and decided what it's showing us. So this hour hand was showing us just past 2 o'clock. Here we see almost 3 o'clock. It's really close to the 3. Here we see exactly 3 o'clock. And back up here by our first example, we drew our hour hands to show the time. We drew our hour hand showing just past 2 o'clock, almost 3 o'clock, and 3 o'clock. So we basically drew our clocks up here the same way the book drew the clocks down here. So for connect it, how was your way like model it? How was it different? So for a time of 3 o'clock, the hour hand is pointing directly at the number 3. For the other times, the hour hand is pointing between the numbers on the clock. So we did that on our clocks, and the book did that on their clocks also. So we showed ours the same way. Don't worry about writing an answer for this one since we're discussing it. If you want to pause and write an answer, that's fine. And as far as how it's different, we really didn't do it differently than the book did. We drew our hands exactly where they were supposed to fall. Number 2 asks, how did using the numbers on the clock face help you draw the hour hands? Well, let me think back. When I drew the hour hands, I was paying attention to where the numbers were on the clock to know where to draw them. For example, for almost 3 o'clock, the hour hand was almost on the 3. So I'm really paying attention to the words in order to understand where to draw the hour hands. If it's saying almost at, I'm drawing it just about at that number. If it's saying before, it's going to be just before it, which is the same as almost at. When we hear just past, we know that the hand is just past that number. For example, just past 2, the hour hand is a little bit past the 2. Okay, let's look at apply it. Draw the hour hand to show the time. Again, we're just focusing on the hour hand in this lesson. So please draw the hour hand to show 8 o'clock. Draw your hour hand only to show 8 o'clock. When I hear o'clock, that makes me think, it's right on the exact hour. So my hour hand should be pointing exactly to the 8 like we see here. Check yours, make sure yours looks like that, please. Almost 9 o'clock. Oh, almost. So it's not exactly at 9 yet, but it's almost at 9 o'clock. So that makes me think my hour hand should be almost at the 9, but not touching the 9. But definitely not close to the 8 because it's almost 9 o'clock. When it's almost 9 o'clock, our hour hand is really close to the 9, but not on it. So take a minute to draw your hour hand. And here's what it should look like. It's almost on the 9, but not quite. If you look really closely, we see that it's, if we were to kind of line it up, it would be just on that line below the 9. Not exactly on the 9, but almost at 9 o'clock. Okay, let's look at page 522. Number 4 asks, which hour hand shows 11 o'clock? Circle the clock. So we are only choosing one answer here. Which of these clocks shows 11 o'clock? Take a minute to look. Remember, o'clock means it's exactly that time. I'm going to be circling this one because when I look at it, I see that the hand is exactly on the 11, showing 11 o'clock. So if you have not done so, please circle this clock. This clock shows 11 o'clock. Here we see almost 12 o'clock. Here we see just past 11 o'clock. And here we see what we need, which is 11 o'clock. Number 5, which hour hand shows almost 6 o'clock? Almost is our key word here, friends. Almost 6 o'clock. That looks like, yeah, that might be it. I'm not going to circle it until I check the other ones, but that looks like almost 6 o'clock to me. The hour hand is almost on the 6, but not quite. Let's check this one. Almost 6 o'clock. No way. It's on the 7. Can't be that. Almost 6 o'clock. It's perfectly on the 6, so no, that would not be almost 6 o'clock. This is our correct answer. This clock shows almost 6 o'clock. Please circle the first one if you have not done so. Now for number 6, we're going to draw hour hands to show the times. We first need to show just past 7 o'clock. Just past 7 o'clock. Is our hour hand going to be perfectly on the 7? No, because it's just past 7 o'clock. Please draw your hour hand to show just past 7 o'clock. Pause if you need to. I'm going to show you the answer. There we have just past 7 o'clock. It's not on the 7, it's just past the 7. Okay, let's look at our next one. Almost 8 o'clock. Almost 8 o'clock. Go ahead and draw your hour hand to show almost 8 o'clock, and then we'll check it. Okay, for almost 8 o'clock, we want to see that the hour hand is almost on the 8, but not quite touching it yet. Almost 8 o'clock. We've gotten a peek at the next one. For our last one on this row, we want to show 8 o'clock. Please draw your hour hand to show 8 o'clock. O'clock should be right on the number. Let's check and see. There we go. 8 o'clock.